In my past life, my husband faked his death and spent my money while living a happy life with his first love. They had children and grandchildren, while I was given to a eunuch by the old lady and tortured to death. Reborn in this life. I knocked out the old lady. Looking at the disheveled and crying old lady, I said, "Oh, so you're into this." The younger brother-in-law and younger sister-in-law came to plead with me. I sent the younger sister-in-law to the military camp and the younger brother-in-law to learn needlework, because I stopped giving them money. My husband came to my door. I stroked my pregnant belly and ordered my servants to drive them out, saying, "Where did these fraudsters come from? How dare they pretend to be the Marquis? My husband is doing just fine. It feels so good to be in control of others' fates. Madam, the old lady requests your presence." The maid's urging voice rang in my ears. I still hadn't recovered from the cold as ice hell. I had been married into the Wilson family for 10 years. Not long after our marriage, my husband unexpectedly passed away. I had been a widow for 10 years. Using my dowry to support the whole family and working tirelessly to seek a future for the declining Wilson family. Just when I finally got a chance to catch my breath, the Wilson family planned to arrange for clan members to serve as officials in the court. In my past life, the old lady begged me to offer myself to the director of the Eastern Depot to gain opportunities for the family's official career. But what I got was not gratitude. Instead, after the Wilson family became prosperous, they locked me in a cold courtyard for the so-called face and let me freeze and starve to death. As the daughter of the richest man in the city, when I died, I only had a thin dress on me and a frozen bun as hard as ice. Just like a beggar. Meanwhile, they used my money and walked on the path I paved, having an easy life all the way. My heart ached uncontrollably. Thankfully, I was reborn, back to this day that would determine my fate. Stroking the warm and comfortable brocade clothes on me, I decided to destroy the Wilson family in the same way I saved it in my past life. "Madam, hurry up. The director will leave soon. If you don't show up." It'll seem that our Wilson family lacks courtesy. They weren't really worried about the family's courtesy. They were just afraid that the director would leave and they wouldn't be able to cozy up to him. I still remembered that in my past life, when I was reluctant, the old lady persuaded me earnestly. Spending the night with the director is a heaven-sent good fortune. If I weren't old, I'd want to serve the director myself. This time, I'll fulfill the old lady's wish. In the room, there was only the anxious old lady. When she saw me come in, she quickly greeted me to sit down. The director said he wasn't feeling well and went to rest first. "Let's wait a while. It's cold outside. Have a cup of tea first." Although the Wilson family was in decline, the old lady always regarded herself as a descendant of the royal family and looked down on me, a merchant's daughter. She thought I was marrying above my station. Even though the Wilson family survived because of me, she never felt grateful. Every time she saw me, she acted superior and never looked at me directly. This time, she was so enthusiastic about me not because she wanted to persuade me further but because she put medicine in the teacup. She planned to make it a done deal and then say something high-sounding, like my deceased husband would be grateful to me and it was all for the Wilson family. To make me accept my fate. That's what she did in my past life. She forced me to accept it and then shifted the blame onto me. She refused to admit that she put the medicine in the tea and said I offered myself voluntarily and she couldn't stop me. In that case, I'll go and invite a doctor for the director. Otherwise, they'll say our Wilson family lacks courtesy. I said and was about to leave. The old lady got anxious and grabbed me. I pretended to stagger and fell to the ground with the old lady. "Oh, Mother, are you okay?" The maids and servants outside were attracted by my loud shout and quickly helped the old lady up. I picked up the teacup and apologized. "Mother, it's all my fault. Have a cup of tea to calm your nerves." The old lady wanted to scold me, but then she seemed to think of something and held it back. She glanced at the table and found my cup still there. Then she took the cup and drank it, but she didn't know that I had switched the 2 cups just now. So what she drank was the one with the medicine. At this time, The maids and servants withdrew, and only the old lady and I were left in the room. It seemed that everyone in the Wilson family knew my upcoming fate except me. But I didn't care. After all, it's best to be in control of one's own fate. I helped her onto the bed and covered her with the quilt up to her head, just like what happened to me in my past life. It was all set. I hummed a tune and returned to my courtyard and asked the maid Violet to carry a stool. "Miss, why are you so happy?" "Since I haven't seen you happy before," said Violet, the maid who accompanied me in marriage. She had watched me change from a carefree rich girl to a resentful widow tortured by daily chores. My brows had never relaxed, and I already had several forehead wrinkles before I was even 30. I had just finished eating a slice of watermelon when I heard a series of curses. The sound was from afar, but I could still clearly distinguish the anger, disappointment, and the intention to kill in it. I quickly threw away the watermelon rind, and the wrinkles on my forehead disappeared instantly. Pretending to know nothing, I took Violet Green with me and followed the crowd to Emily Smith's courtyard. The entrance was already surrounded by layers upon layers of maids and servants, far more enthusiastic than when they worked. Seeing me approach, they automatically made a path, and I immediately spotted Thomas Clark rushing out of the room in minimal clothing. I quickly covered my own eyes and helped Violet cover hers too, afraid she might see something indecent. In my ears was Thomas' furious roar. "Does your Wilson family not want the imperial favor? How dare you use an old woman to deal with me?" I parted my fingers slightly to confirm Thomas had adjusted his clothes before lowering my hands. "Not old at all. Emily is only 42, has only ever had one child, and still has her charm. Plus, she's long admired you." I rubbed my hands together like an overly eager madam. Thomas' expression softened a bit, but he wasn't fully convinced. Thomas usually feasts on delicacies and must be tired of them. Sometimes a change, though rougher, is refreshing. Most importantly, she's experienced and understands you. Weren't you satisfied just now? I winked, successfully making Thomas recall the earlier scene. Emily had gone to great lengths to please Thomas, researching his preferences and preparing all sorts of tools, even more than he usually used himself. It was quite thoughtful. For a widow to know so much was impressive. Aside from Emily being a bit older, it hit all Thomas' desires. Nothing in life is perfect, and Thomas knew it, like how he wielded immense power but couldn't perform naturally, relying on aids to fulfill certain obsessions. Thomas gave a light hum. "You're quite sensible, little lady. It's all for the Wilson family. See how sincere we are." Emily personally participated. I signaled Violet to enter the room. At a time like this, how could the leading lady Emily not be awake? Violet called out repeatedly with no response. Then, after a sharp slap, Emily slowly stirred. "Where am I?" "Congratulations on your second bloom, Emily." I loved Violet's cleverness. "What do you mean?" Emily's voice trembled. Through the door crack, I saw her face turn green as she spotted the tools on the table and the marks on her body. What happened? It should have been. When she saw me at the door, Emily swallowed the rest of her words. I joyfully rushed in, sat by the bed, tucked in her blanket, and wiped non-existent tears. "Emily, you're so selfless, sacrificing this much for the Wilson family. For caution's sake." I had blown out the candles before leaving. Thomas loved tormenting people in the dark, and if not for the dripping wax at the end, he wouldn't have noticed. Emily hadn't endured a tenth of what I did in my past life. Yet she couldn't handle it. "Did you switch the secret drug?" "What secret drug?" "Emily, what are you talking about? Our Wilson family is noble. We don't have any secret drugs." "Are you saying you drugged me?" "Sophia Miller." Emily ignored her aches, covering my mouth. "Sophia, what are you saying?" "Of course there's no secret drug. That won't. His affects the Wilson family's reputation. Any doctor could find out." No, actually, I admired Thomas and offered myself willingly." Emily bit her lip, looking pitiful. "What did you say?" I can't hear you. Emily flushed and repeated it. Still. I couldn't hear. Finally, Emily shouted defiantly. I said I offered myself willingly. After shouting, she realized a circle of servants was outside the door. They all heard. Don't worry, Emily. They're all Wilson family confidants. They want talk. I patted her shoulder to comfort her, just as she had comforted me in my past life. Sophia thanks you on behalf of the Wilson family and John Wilson. You gave the family life. And well, remember it. I said the words Shed used in my past life, not giving her a chance to react. After all, Thomas wasn't done playing. Standing in the courtyard, I looked back to see Thomas smiling as he closed the door. That smile was the nightmare of countless nights in my past life. This time, that overwhelming fortune should be tasted by someone else. The Wilson family mansion was quiet for several days. Then, as expected, the imperial court took care of the Wilson family. However, there was no sign of the elation from the previous life. This is so double standard. When I sacrificed my body, they were overjoyed. But when the old lady did the same, they were as gloomy as if they had lost their mother. No, everyone has to be happy together. So I stopped the coal allowance for the Wilson family mansion. Everyone was so cold that they could only stand in the sun, rubbing their hands and stamping their feet. From afar, it looked like they were dancing. Over the years, the Wilson family has been living off me. I've supported over 100 people, yet I've been living frugally. It's just not fair. These days, it's been snowing heavily. I asked Violet to prepare a hot pot and send someone to buy top-grade mutton from the grasslands. The mutton was hung on the rack, ready to be cooked at any time. The steaming heat filled the room. I also asked Violet to light another charcoal brazier. Miss, why are you so afraid of the cold this year? Violet was wearing a thin cotton robe and was almost sweating from the heat. Because I don't want to freeze to death. I really didn't want to experience the feeling of freezing to death again. Miss, what nonsense are you talking about? Quickly spit 3 times. Don't say such inauspicious things. Violet scolded with a smile. Recently, Miss has been smiling more and eating more. You've gained weight. I picked up a chopstick of mutton and put it into my mouth. The delicious taste of the mutton wrapped in the dipping sauce was rolling in my mouth. Why didn't I find that cooked mutton was so delicious before? All the food is so delicious, except for that cold and hard steamed cornbread. I was enjoying my meal when a maid came over hesitantly to report. Madam, the second master and the eldest miss are kneeling in the yard. They said they want to see you. I wiped my mouth, so they couldn't hold on any longer. After a good meal, I put on my cloak and went to the yard. The snow was really heavy, just like the day I died. Looking at David and Sophia again, their shoulders were covered with snow. I remembered that when I died, I was completely covered by the snow. No one in the mansion noticed me. It was only a few days later when the temperature rose and the snow melted that my body was discovered. David and Sophia were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. How could they stand such suffering? Their bodies began to shiver. When they saw me coming out, they immediately straightened their backs. Sister-in-law, mother is sick. We'd like to invite you over. They looked so righteous. They were probably afraid that I wouldn't go and deliberately use this way to provoke me. I still remember in the previous life, David wanted to join the military camp as a deputy general. But he was not cut out for it. At that time, the general was an old friend of my father. To get me to help, the old lady made David kneel in the yard. Leading an army in battle is a serious matter. It's not something you can do just because you want to. Moreover, since my husband died, the old lady has doted on David especially. Usually, David just lingered among women. He had never even touched a sword or a stick. The most he had touched was a woman's hand. The old lady knew I was shy and thought that by forcing me this way, I would eventually give in. But I'm not the old me. I'm Emily Smith. I won't fall for this trick. Okay. I'll go right away. I went and came back. By the way, it's so cold just kneeling there. Rub your hands to warm up. I thought the old lady was faking illness, but unexpectedly, she was really sick. She got sick from the cold. As soon as I entered the room, it was as cold as an ice cave. The old lady was lying in bed, covered with several layers of quilts. The maids and nannies beside her were hopping around. It looked quite comical. Violet promptly put a mink cloak on me and handed me a hot hand warmer. I sat by the bed and tucked in the corner of the quilt for her. Your room is really cold. Before the old lady could say a word, I could hear her teeth chattering. Emily, the coal is used up recently. You should buy some coal quickly. In the previous life, I was a dutiful daughter-in-law. I regarded the Wilson family mansion as my own home and spared no effort to take care of it. But the old lady didn't appreciate me at all. Instead, knowing that there was no one to support me from my natal family, she tried her best to coax me into taking out my dowry. She only wanted the most expensive things for food, clothing, and daily use. For coal, she only burned animal charcoal mixed with spices that cost 10 taels of silver per piece. This was not burning coal at all. It was like burning money. But in the previous life, I was filial and agreed to everything. Look at my memory. I forgot about this. Someone, quickly light the coal. The coal was burning, and black smoke billowed up. I couldn't help coughing and quickly dodged the direction of the smoke. But the old lady was sick and couldn't get out of bed. So all the black smoke drifted to the bedside. Cough, cough, cough. Emily, cough, cough. This coal is no good. Mother, you'll have to make do. There are so many places where money is needed. I'm thinking that since David and Sophia are getting older, I'm going to find a way out for them. I've already thought it through. One can go to the military camp to gain some experience for a few years, and the other can be taught by some nannies. It won't be a problem to marry into a noble family. My words hit the matriarch right in the heart. Her eyes, which had been listless moments before, instantly lit up like a last gleam before death. Really, Emily Smith, you truly are the best daughter-in-law of the Wilson family. Well, erect a memorial for you in the future. A memorial. In my past life, when I died, I didn't even get a grave or tombstone, just wrapped in a straw mat and tossed into a mass grave, torn apart by wild dogs. Not even an intact body was left behind. When I returned, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were long gone. The maid said they knelt for a while and then left. Good otherwise. If they got sick, all my efforts would have been wasted. Just like in the previous life, I mobilized all my connections and money to arrange everything perfectly for the two of them. Before their departure, the matriarch and the two shared a deep, emotional farewell. Mother, don't worry. Emily is doing this for my own good. Going to the military camp for a few years of training will help me achieve something. That's right, Mother. Once I become a royal consort, it'll bring you to live in luxury. In the previous life, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law played a part in my miserable death. Though the matriarch framed me, I never mistreated them for it. Outwardly obedient, they constantly sucked me dry while secretly calling me a wicked woman who made the siblings suffer. I still remember the day I was banished to the cold courtyard. David Brown stood at the door listing my crimes. You wicked woman. You're trying to send my sister and me away so you can seize the Wilson family, making us suffer so much. This is all your own doing. Ungrateful after benefiting. If it weren't for me, how could they have such a bright future? The carriages for picking them up were one black and one pink. I stopped David, who was about to board the black carriage. No, wrong carriage. David was confused. Isn't this the military camp's carriage? I smiled sweetly. Yes, but you think the camp is too harsh. That I'm deliberately making things hard for you as your sister-in-law to monopolize the Wilson family. So, Emily admits her mistake. I don't have many virtues, but I correct my errors when I see them. You'll go learn music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. You can come home every day. surrounded by women. Then I pushed Sophia Miller into the black carriage. You said Emily insulted you, turning you into a mere accessory to please men. So after thinking it over, Emily decided to send you to the military camp. The Wilson family's future depends entirely on you. These days, my life in the Wilson family is getting more comfortable. Every few days, the overseer comes to the estate to linger with the matriarch. Later, it became every other day. The Wilson family's fortunes improved, with all the imperial subsidies coming through. So I no longer need to subsidize anything. One day, I ate palace pastries while reading a letter from the general. Sophia arrived at the camp and still tried to act like a Wilson family lady, applying makeup daily and ordering soldiers to heat her bathwater at night, or shed complaint about the food, bringing all the estate's heirs to the military camp. At first, the soldiers tolerated her out of respect for the general, but later she accused him of harassing her. It started during horse stance training when Sophia's form was poor, and the general nudged her leg with his foot. Sophia threw herself on the ground, throwing a tantrum and threatening to report it to the emperor to ruin the general's reputation. When I visited the camp, Sophia was sitting in the command tent, cursing at the general with language that rivaled a street shrew. I had no idea where she learned such words. The general's face was grim. Before he could speak after seeing me, Sophia switched from her earlier aggression to crying like a pear blossom in the rain. Emily, you're finally here. I've been horribly bullied. You must stand up for me, or my innocence will be ruined. How will you explain it to my brother, to mother, to the ancestors of the Wilson family? Her 3 demands were delivered forcefully, raising the stakes. Unfortunately, I wasn't falling for it anymore. Innocence. Sophia, you're right, we're royal relatives. How can we let anyone take advantage? I've brought a doctor and a matron. Let the matron examine you. Sophia didn't know what I was up to. She clutched her chest. Emily, what are you doing? No examination needeth, he only touched my leg. I pressed her onto the stool myself. The leg counts too. A young lady of the Wilson family is precious. If anything goes wrong later, how will I explain it to your brother, to mother, to the ancestors of the Wilson family? I signaled, and the doctor took her pulse. Before he even finished stroking his beard, his expression changed drastically, and he knelt on the ground. What is it, madam? I dare not say. It's fine. Madam will protect you. Speak. The doctor trembled. A pregnancy pulse. He then cowed out. The tent fell silent. The general spoke. Emily. It wasn't me, the doctor quickly added. It's been over 3 months. Sophia had only been at the camp for half a month. Even working overtime wouldn't have been enough time. So, she must have been pregnant back at the Wilson family. The child was a poor relative of the old lady staying at the Wilson family residence, also considered Sophia Miller's cousin. The old lady leaned on the couch, crying and scolding. You useless thing. How could you give away your innocence so easily? And that worthless fellow. Sophia Miller also cried, not out of sadness but because the old lady had slapped her, making her cry from pain. Mother, didn't you say you're royalty? Your family is all nobility. And cousins can be together. Why are you degrading my cousin like this? I'd seen this cousin before. He was smooth-tongued and best at deceiving young girls. How did I give birth to a monster like you? I might as well die. Saying this, she got out of bed to dash against the pillar. I sneered. I wouldn't be fooled again. In my past life, I stopped the old lady, and seeing the 2 of them weeping uncontrollably, I made the decision to have Sophia Miller abort the child. She eventually married a prince and became a princess. Sophia held a grudge against me for this, believing I killed her child and prevented her from being with her cousin. How could I do such a wicked thing again in this life? The old lady watched me sitting with my legs crossed, sipping tea, showing no intention of stopping her. Finally, she stopped abruptly and clung to the pillar. My life is truly wretched, she wailed twice. watching my reaction all along, seeing I wasn't falling for it. She finally showed her true colors. Emily Smith. What should we do? She wanted me to be the villain again. Just like in the past. Did they not know what to do? They did. But they needed someone to take the blame. Under the old lattice expectant gaze, I suddenly stood up. Oh, my stomach hurts probably from drinking cold tea. Mother, your room is too chilly. Violet green. Hurry and call the doctor. Days passed, and Sophia's belly grew larger. She couldn't go to the military camp anymore. But she didn't care, still running out daily to meet her cousin. Meanwhile, someone must have noticed something. And news spread throughout the capital that the Wilson family's young lady was pregnant out of wedlock and shamelessly intimate with her own cousin in public. Even details like how long they embraced and how many times they kissed were clear, as if witnessed firsthand. Worse, there were illustrated booklets. For a time, their booklets outsold erotic pictures. The old lady vomited blood on the spot from anger. The cousin used this as leverage, demanding Sophia marry him with a generous dowry, while offering no bride price. If refused, he threatened to leave the Wilson family residence. After all, Sophia was nearly due. Abortion was dangerous. Their affair was common knowledge, and Sophia could never remarry. Gritting her teeth, the old lady had no choice but to agree. I learned this news just as I finished my last drawing. Though the Wilson family wasn't short on food and drink lately, they were barely breaking even. With no extra wealth for a dowry, the old lady turned her schemes on me again. She really never learned. I agreed immediately, and the old lady finally showed a hint of joy. Soon, the wedding day arrived. The old lady urged me several times before I showed up late. Emily, where's the dowry? Seeing nothing behind me, the old lady was frantic but dared not show it with so many guests watching. And why are you dressed all in white? It's so unlucky. I opened my white cloak, pulled out John Wilson's memorial tablet, and collapsed weeping at the old lattice feet. Mother, today is my husband's death anniversary. How can I not grieve? He died unexpectedly on our wedding night, leaving no children. I'm a widow struggling alone, with no money to give Sophia a dowry. Go ahead and squeeze the oil from my bones to sell. I cried and made a scene, giving the guests plenty of gossip. The old lady flustered. Is today John's death anniversary? The fortune teller clearly said today was auspicious. I had bribed the fortune teller to say it was a good day. Are you saying John died wrong? Should we dig him up and have him die again? The old lady didn't dare. Knowing the coffin was empty, Sophia married anyway. But she became the city's laughingstock, first pregnant out of wedlock, then forcing her widowed sister-in-law for a dowry and marrying on her brother's death anniversary. One day, I was disguised as a man visiting a brothel when I saw Sophia, big-bellied, coming to catch her husband cheating. She looked ready to give birth soon, but I had no mind for her. As I was waiting for someone, after a while, Sophia's voice quieted down. Through the corridor window, I saw the courtesan supporting a drunken, unconscious man. I paid the courtesan a large sum, helped the man into a room, and left before he woke the next day. Who knew before I could rest? The old lady sent for me. I staggered sleepily to the old lattice door and asked, Mom, what's wrong again? Did the overseer dump you? Yawning, I then noticed there were several more people in the room. A woman was holding a crying baby in her arms, and a man was sitting beside the old lady, chatting merrily. When they saw me come in, they all looked my way. I was delighted. Wasn't this my husband who had been dead for 10 years? He showed up a few years earlier than in my past life. Looking at their plain clothes, I understood they were out of money. In my past life, I always thought my husband died in an accident. In fact, he didn't like me, but in order to keep the Marquis mansion afloat, he had to marry me. So they came up with an idea, which was to fake his death after the wedding, leaving me to struggle to support the decaying Marquis mansion alone. Meanwhile, He used my money to live a prosperous and carefree life in seclusion with his first love. Every month, the old lady had to spend a large sum of extra money. Her excuse was to support distant relatives. But it wasn't until I was on my deathbed that I found out all that money had gone to John and his first love wife. The old lady averted her eyes, but she couldn't hide the joy of a mother-son reunion. Emily. John was saved by Lily. So he didn't die. Isn't this a great chance for our family to get together? Well, I wasn't part of their family. In my past life, John only came back to reap the benefits after I had put the Marquis mansion on the right track and his younger brother and sister had settled down. That's great. So you repaid her with your body, right? I continued. I heard you and Lily knew each other long ago. What a wonderful coincidence. But outsiders definitely won't believe it. They'll probably say you two had an affair long ago, abandoned your new wife, and eloped. I said it so convincingly that it startled the old lady. No, Emily. Listen to my explanation. Oh, why is this baby crying nonstop? Is it because there's no milk? You're so thin. Does your husband not feed you enough? That's not right. You two have hands and feet. Why don't you go earn some money? Lily's cheeks flushed red, with the baby crying even louder. She flew into a rage and pinched the baby's thigh hard. Immediately, the baby's cry went shrill. In my past life, Lily never did any housework and was well protected by John. She used my money but looked down on me for being money-minded. She spent her days in a world of romance and never even looked after the baby. Now that I had stopped giving them money and the family couldn't afford servants or wet nurses, real life had filled her with resentment. Hey, why are you taking your anger out on the baby? I exposed her thoughts. Lily gave John a resentful look. John had looked rather sheepish at first, but seeing this, he immediately straightened his back, slapped the table with a bang, and pointed at me. Emily, you slut. You're having an affair with the eunuch from the Eastern Depot. You've shamed the Wilson family. Now that I'm back, I won't tolerate you ruining the family's reputation any longer. I couldn't help bursting into laughter. In my past life, John also accused me as soon as we met because offering me to the overseer was a plan he and the old lady had cooked up together. It was just inconvenient to meet in person, and their communication was mainly through letters. The plan was for the old lady to drug me and send me to the overseer's bed. Later, the old lady got so into it that she didn't even have time to care about him. So, what's the most expensive thing in the world? It's information. You bitch. Emily. How dare you laugh? John was furious. You're a widow, yet you actively climbed into the eunuch's bed. Do you have a conscience? Do you think about the ancestors of the Wilson family? People like you should be drowned in the pond. Are you sure? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the old lady's face turn as black as coal. She was wringing her handkerchief. Since she got involved with the overseer, her every move and smile had a hint of a shy young girl. It seemed that love really did nourish people. Before I could say anything else, a servant reported that the overseer had arrived. Bitch. I'm still here, and you've summoned your lover. He was all bluster. In my past life, when he saw the overseer, he was like a sycophant, trying to squeeze the last bit of value out of me to gain more benefits. Come. Lock Emily up in the cold courtyard. Just as he finished speaking, the overseer strode in. Seeing so many people in the room, the overseer's smile immediately faded. Instinctively, he didn't have a good impression of normal men of lower status, and he didn't have to be afraid of them at all. The overseer strode up to the old lady and pulled her into his arms. Did you miss me? The old lady blushed like a young girl and pushed him away half-heartedly a few times. The overseer laughed heartily. What are you so shy about? Does anyone in the whole Wilson family not know you're my woman? What a coincidence. There really was someone who didn't know. I suddenly remembered the topic we were just talking about. Who was talking about drowning someone in the pond? We were standing outside the old lattice courtyard, listening to the faint voices inside. John's face turned green. Well, He was green on behalf of his father. What a filial son. Emily, listen to my explanation. I turned around and walked away. John Wilson followed me and we walked all the way to the gate. Emily, you've had a tough time over the years. From now on, Lily and I will come back to help you. You don't have to work so hard anymore. I told the servant to open the gate and asked, "Who are you?" John was taken aback and forced out 2 awkward laughs. "It's me, John Wilson, your husband, Lily. Come and tell Emily who I am." A man who claimed she was his one and only was now shamelessly trying to stay by another woman's side. Anyone would be unable to stand this. Lily's eyes turned red as if she had suffered a great humiliation. I shook my head, unable to take this already. As expected. She's a delicate flower in the greenhouse, only able to share happiness but not hardships. They are just the same. No one should blame the other. No way. My husband is fine. And I'm even pregnant. You can't be the Marquis. I stroked my belly, hoping it would be strong so that I could keep the child without the father. John had no token to prove his identity. All he relied on was the family's recognition. Now, the old lady was having a good time. Sophia had gotten married. And David was embroidering a picture of the 1,000-mile landscape, aiming to bring glory to the Wilson family on the Emperor's birthday. Who would care about him now? Someone. Drive these 2 imposters out. The servants were all new ones I had replaced. And they only recognized me as their mistress. It's just a pity for the child. If he has to blame someone, blame his unlucky parents. John stopped pretending. If it weren't for the servants blocking him, he would have come to beat me. I was so scared that I missed a step on the stairs. Oh no. Was I going to fall badly? But the expected pain didn't come. I landed in a firm and warm embrace. Then, the word thank was swallowed back before I could finish it. How damn coincidental. Isn't this the man I had asked for sperm donation that day? He leaned close to my ear and said, "Sister Emily, you're still the same as when you were a kid, running away after getting what you want." His name was Thomas Clark. He was my childhood friend. After he was 15, his family moved south and he became the richest man in the south of the Yangtze River. He came back this time to offer sacrifices to his ancestors. His friends deliberately got him drunk to see if the always chaste Thomas was gay. Later, he redeemed a courtesan. In my previous life, I only saw him from afar in the old mansion. After he returned to the south of the Yangtze River, I never saw him again. I thought I'd never see him again after that sperm donation. But unexpectedly, he found me. Good. Emily Smith. So this is your lover. You want to monopolize the Wilson family. John came over with his fist raised and was then kicked flying with 1 foot. Finally, he supported Lily and walked away crying. Thomas blocked the gate that I was about to close. I can provide it a second time. Until you get pregnant. John was not willing to give up. He reported the matter to the emperor. But now the court was in the hands of the Grand Eunuch. The Grand Eunuch had 2 loves. One was beautiful women and the other was money. Coincidentally, I could offer both. But before I could take action, John was beaten out of the palace and was exiled to a cold and desolate place for the crime of impersonating a noble. I was just wondering when I saw Thomas and the Grand Eunuch walking over, chatting and laughing. Grand Eunuch. Please wait. Here are the procedures for the copper mine in the south of the Yangtze River. Thank you for your trouble. From then on, the Wilson family took the surname Smith. I went on the day when John was exiled. I gave the guards some money and asked them to take good care of them on the way. By the way, I told John a secret. That is, he was actually infertile. Impossible. Impossible. Emily, you're lying to me. As for whether I was lying to him or not, it depends on what he thinks. The first thing I did when I got back to the mansion was to marry off the old lady. Mom, now the Grand Eunuch is willing to marry you. It's your fortune. Don't worry. I'll prepare a generous dowry for you. The old lady cried and wailed, but it was useless. David came to make trouble with me, but unfortunately, I had turned him into a sissy. His body had been weakened by women. He was just a fake. I knocked him out and sold him to the male brothel and made a little profit. Anyway, the Wilson family now had the surname Smith. No one cared what happened to the Wilson family. On the wedding day, the old lady refused to get into the sedan chair. Why isn't Sophia here? Oh, I forgot to tell you. Sophia was beaten by her husband and had a miscarriage not long ago. Both she and the baby died. The old lady burst into tears. I wiped her tears. Crying at a wedding is unlucky. From now on, your natal family won't be able to help you. So take care of yourself, okay? The old lady was still grieving over Sophia Miller. The wedding planner, afraid of delaying the auspicious time, pushed the old lady into the sedan chair. I shook my head. Can't she handle this? If she knew that her eldest son killed his beautiful wife on the way to exile, and her youngest son became the top male escort in a brothel, wouldn't she go crazy? But I'm soft-hearted and wouldn't do that. With my 5-month pregnant belly. As soon as I entered, Thomas Clark came. Emily Smith, will you marry me? I'm willing to marry into the Wilson family. And my dowry is all of the Clark family's property. The Clark family's parents had passed away, leaving behind wealth that could rival a country. I nodded. Ill-considerate. After 10 months of pregnancy and 1 day of childbirth, as soon as he was born, my son was appointed as a lord by the emperor. Thomas also sent a congratulatory gift, all his real estate and land deeds. Emily, have you made up your mind now? I looked at the young lord nursing. All right. Barely acceptable. Don't worry. They'll keep working hard to earn money and support you and the child. I closed my eyes. That's more like it. The end.